In his interview, he said that he was going to put a knife through my face. He was determined to murder a celebrity. He started shouting at me in the court. When the judge said, "Why should I grant you bail today?" he said, "Because the world would be a better place without her, and that's what I'm here to do."
Lily Allen had spent 7 years being stalked by a man who'd approached her online when she woke to find him standing at the end of her bed.
I could see from the minute that he came into my bedroom that he was ill and that he needed help. I wanted to help him, you know. I felt immediately like something's really wrong with this guy, and I feel like, you know, he's been let down. I've been let down, and how many other people are being let down?
We discuss why there's been a rise in stalking and whether the police are doing enough. In an exclusive television interview, the singer Lily Allen has told Newsnight she feels victim-shamed by the Metropolitan Police. On Sunday, she told The Observer that she felt let down and dismissed as a nuisance by police over her repeated reports of a persistent abusive stalker. Alex Gray has a history of psychiatric problems and was known to the police. He was finally convicted this month, 8 years after he first threatened her. It was only when he broke into her house, then stole her bag, that police caught and charged him with burglary and harassment. The charges didn't, to her dismay, include stalking. In response to Allen's comments, a senior officer at the Met emailed her warning that her interview could deter others from going to the police at all. Lily Allen spoke to Kirsty earlier today about her support for a national register of serial stalkers. First, we asked about that terrifying ordeal, which first began with some abusive tweets. The interview contains strong language.
I'm lying in bed and I could see the door handle moving, and you know, then he steams in and starts screaming and shouting, "Where's my dad? Where's my dad? What have you done with my dad, you fucking bitch?" At which point I was in shock. I didn't know who this person was. I was concerned for him because I could see that he was really agitated and upset, but it was very focused on me. It was,
and he was very close to you.
Yeah, and
as close as we are.
As close as we are, yeah. And I recoiled back into my bed, at which point he ripped the duvet off, and I jumped out of bed at that point and ran around to the other side of the room. And he kept sort of shouting at me, but he was very focused on me. It was really confusing because it was loud and it was aggressive, and there was lots of sort of gesticulating going on, and he had something under his jumper.
You didn't see him as the same person in the photograph necessarily?
Not at all. Well, I didn't. The photograph, I can't even visualise it now. It was something that was given to me 5 years ago for 30 seconds to look at. It transpires that on the 9th of October, he had sent an email to his mother saying that he was in London, had come into some money, probably from my handbag, and that he was determined to murder a celebrity. The police didn't tell me that, and I was living in the same flat on my own, albeit with a security guard. Then on the 11th, I think, I was DJing at an event, and I came home at about 1 o'clock in the morning to find the handbag that had been stolen on the bonnet of my car, burnt out, at which point I called the police. And the police came over, and I think that it was the next day that they installed CCTV on the outside of my house. And then a day after that, he was arrested.
And what happened in court?
He was brought up, from the cells, and he came in. He immediately made eye contact with me. He started shouting at me in the court. When the judge said, "Why should I grant you bail today?" he said, "Because the world would be a better place without her, and that's what I'm here to do." There wasn't anyone from the police at court that morning, so, you know, even though I had witnessed this, nobody from the police had witnessed this and was writing it down in order to, you know, notify the CPS that he was continually threatening me. There was a charge of burglary and a charge of harassment.
But no stalking charge?
No stalking charge, yeah. But it didn't really seem like they were really interested in making it a stalking case. After I gave evidence, I was taken into a room and I was told by the CPS that in his interview, he said that he was going to put a knife through my face.
And in that interview, part of which was played in court, what did the police then say to him?
We're going to end the interview there.
Until this happened to you, Lily, had you any idea of the extent of the problem with stalking?
I had no idea about the extent of stalking that goes on in this country, and as far as I'm aware, it's 700,000 reported cases, 1% of which end up with a prosecution, which is why I've teamed up with the Women's Equality Party and Paladin, who are the charity associated with stalking, to you know, lobby for this serial stalking register. There are not many people in this country that have the resources to move house, take on a security guard, and a legal team in order to, you know, push the CPS and the police. I feel very thankful that I do have those resources, but it makes me very, very worried about other women and indeed men in this situation. Due to the high profile of this matter, I fear other victims of similar crimes may have read the story and now may not have the confidence in us to report such matters. As such, it is really important that I can understand what, if anything, went wrong during the investigation. I was saddened to hear of this report, so would like to hear your views on what we could do better.
What do you think of that email?
I think it's victim shaming and victim blaming.
But you know he's going to be sentenced now, and that must bring some relief.
Yes, it does bring me some relief if he is sentenced and dealt with as a mentally ill person, because if he's not, I'm not safe, and my children aren't safe. I'm not in the slightest bit angry with Alex Gray, and I could see from the minute that he came into my bedroom that he was ill and that he needed help. I wanted to help him, you know. I felt immediately like something's really wrong with this guy, and I feel like, you know, he's been let down. I've been let down, and how many other people are being let down?
Lily Allen speaking to Kirsty. Well, Lily Allen's stalker is due to be sentenced next month, and this evening she told Kirsty she was in touch with the Independent Police Complaints Commission. Join me now from Manchester as the National Police Chiefs Council lead for stalking and harassment, Assistant Chief Constable Gary Sherwin of the Greater Manchester Police. And here in the studio with me is Sophie Walker from the Women's Equality Party. She's their London mayoral candidate. You heard they have teamed up with Kirsty Allen on this one. Thank you both very much indeed for joining us. Gary, if I can just start with you, it does seem, that interview, to raise some astonishing issues. There is something slightly weird about a victim saying that she felt she was victim shamed. She was made to feel embarrassed by the police calling her out when she complained. How do you make sense of that?
Well, it's clear that what Lily Allen endured must have been incredibly frightening. And it's not just celebrities who get stalked. Every week, thousands of victims, men and women, across the country are subject to this frightening behaviour, this behaviour that doesn't seem to stop, that steals their lives, that really tears them apart. And, you know, we have to do something, we have to do more about this. We have to, as a police service, as the criminal justice system in this country, listen to people like Lily Allen and learn and move forward. I think hearing Lily Allen's story is really important. We have to be able to say to people across the country that, you know, that is an incredibly, you know, frightening experience, and we need to do more and more every week now to try and ensure that we safeguard victims.
She felt she'd been told off, didn't she? I mean, when she spoke out and said, I don't think the police came to my rescue on this one, she got an email saying, don't deter other people from coming forward. Was that the right call for the Met to make?
I think what we have to do is ask victims. Sadly, only 1 in 4 victims of stalking ever report their experience to the police. And clearly, you know, people like Lily Allen who don't report put themselves in danger, and we can't assist them.
Do you think the Met failed in this specific case?
Well, listening to Lily Allen, clearly, you know, she feels very let down. I don't know the circumstances of the investigation, but she does feel let down. And I think we have to reach out to victims and say, please believe us. We will treat stalking very seriously, and we have to encourage more and more people to come forward. Too many people suffer for too long this fixated, obsessive behaviour, and we need to be there and support them. And I would say to all police officers around the country, all police forces around the country, that this is an important story to listen to.
Yeah.
And, you know, yes, we prosecute more and more people. In the last 2 years, we've successfully prosecuted 70% more offences of stalking than we've ever done before. 70% more offences.
But that comes down to, Sophie Walker, that comes to 1%. Is that right? 700,000 men and women are stalked, and 1% is convicted?
Prosecuted, yes. So, I mean, I think what's really interesting here is hearing Gary say that so few people report, and I think few women report because they fear exactly this response, that it won't be taken seriously. And I think that...
But that figure, 700,000, you're sure? I mean, that's like 2,000
well, the
data
data on this is very poor, which is something we really...
So it could be wrong, that could be an exaggeration?
I don't think that it's wrong. I think it could be much, much worse, actually, because we know that most women only come forward after their 100th incident. So the scale of the issue here is huge. And what's good about the situation is that we have a stalking law that was introduced in 2012, and we have an agreed approach between ACPO and the CPS, which was agreed in 2014. That is very basic but very necessary measures, such as referring the victim to support services, making sure there's a single point of contact, taking a very serious forensic approach from the get-go so you can build a solid case. None of these things happened in Lily's case.
Gary Sheeran, it seems odd, doesn't it, that this law was introduced in 2012. The stats speak for themselves, if that's right, 700,000 people stalked. And yet, when the police went round, they were only interested in the burglary in Lily's case and not in the stalking. Why is there this, you know, acceptance that it's on the rise and it's huge, but this failure on an individual level to take it seriously?
Well, the 700,000 comes from the British Crime Survey, so that's people saying that they've experienced stalking. Not reported to the police, that's their saying to the British Crime Survey they've experienced it. Every year there are thousands of people prosecuted under harassment laws and stalking laws, which are effectively the same statute. Stalking is far more serious and the penalty is more important. What we have to do is get police officers and the Crown Prosecution Service to recognise where there is stalking involved, we must charge with stalking. Far too many stalkers are charged with harassment offences.
And would you add to that a stalking register, as we would for sex offenders? Do you think it's important, since stalking is now illegal, for there to be a register of people on it?
I think there is lots we can do. In 2016, I think we're going to see a great deal of activity.
Okay.
Yes, we want to see a stalking register. There's going to be new guidance for investigating for police officers. We're having a new app developed so people can actually capture the evidence for the police service on their telephones, which I think is really, really important. And I think also we've just finished consultation with the Home Office on the introduction of a stalking order, which will allow police officers to put controls on perpetrators from the moment it's reported. These are vital tools in combating and keeping people safe.
So the Women's Equality Party is doing this work, this campaign with Lily and with Paladin, because we talk about it's important that stalking is recognised, but the police are not recognising stalking. And that is why, a really key part of this campaign is to ring-fence funding for specialist support groups who can then use that expertise to train the police. Because what's happening is that separate incidents are being recorded rather than seeing the full pattern.
A joined-up picture.
And on top of that, it's really important that that's understood, so that hopefully when we move to a register of serial stalkers, police can recognise that pattern.
Thank you both very much. Thanks for joining us.